but I'm not going to say that confidently right now.
Right. I feel like that's pretty hard to predict, and that would be a very special moment if that took place.
Yeah, and really that wouldn't happen until way, a few months after this cruise, when the specimen would be analyzed by the taxonomic expert to make that determination that it is a new species. And then there's a whole other process of describing the species.
Yeah, that's right, because once we collect the samples off of the ROVs at the end of the dive and they get stored, we can't just necessarily visually determine, like, hey, that's a brand new coral. Right, I think that's because a lot of these corals externally look pretty similar, and it takes a specialist to break it down, look at it under a scanning electron microscope, and look at the base parts of the coral, which, correct me if I'm wrong, are they called sclerites?
That is the structure of the coral, yes, that helps identify the specific species. Yeah, sclerites, you got it right.
Awesome. So Guy, now that I know you're here, from a geologist's perspective, what's interesting about coming here to Bodega Canyon for you?
I have to stop eating my M&Ms for this.
Oh, you don't need to stop doing that.
Well, the canyon is one of the larger canyons in the vicinity. It extends up onto the shelf, which is kind of unique. So it's a really important connector between the shelf and the abyssal plain in the sense of material moving through it. And canyon walls are really steep. Possibly there's been slumping that's exposed bedrock, which can be recruited by the cold water corals, which is what we're after. So primarily I'm looking at those slopes and hoping that they've been colonized.
Awesome. Thanks, Guy. That's very interesting. I had no idea, but that's why we have scientists such as Guy and Caitlin and Sage on board to guide these missions.
One other tidbit I can provide about our location today is that this will be the first time that we're going to explore a canyon wall that has a southern aspect. So meaning that in 2017, am I trying to think? No, excuse me, I have it backwards. This will be a northern facing aspect canyon wall, where in the past we've surveyed southern facings. And so it's been a question for us if that influences the coral and sponge communities living on those walls, as it may be more advantageous to be on a certain aspect of a wall for food delivery, as in this region we primarily have a northwest flow of current and nutrients. So we will see. This is also part of our question.
Thanks. That's actually really interesting. I don't know about viewers, but I hadn't really considered how that might affect distribution of coral. So, yeah, that should be really an interesting question, right? All right, and so for our viewers who have mentioned that perhaps there's a couple of screens down on the website, we are, just so you know, we are looking into that. Thanks. Oh, yeah.
How do I talk to her? Thanks, Danny. Thanks, you heard me.
All right, so welcome back to our viewers. We are in the process of descending at the moment in Bank National Marine Sanctuary. We're at a location called, um, I am drawing a blank. Where are
Bodega Canyon.
Bodega Canyon? Thank you. Sorry, I actually pulled out my French fries and that just like completely took over. Sorry. Um, We are we're planning to descend to just over 3,000 feet. While we're on this descent, do we have any, or sorry, 3,000 meters? Wow, the French fries really scramble my brains.
I think we're going to go down to about 3,000 meters.
3,000 meters.
Yeah,
Thank you.
so it's quite
Which
deep.
Deep, yeah.
translates to about 2 miles or 10,000 feet.
Wow.
Which
Wow.
is pretty good distance underwater.
Yeah. On the way down, as we're descending through blue water, do we have any science goals?
At the last 100 meters of our descent, we'll slow the rate of the ROV, and so that the video collected of any planktonic organisms or gelatinous creatures can be captured. And I think the goal for that is for a researcher to analyze those and help us with the gelatinous species identifications.
Great. That sounds exciting. I think everybody, especially our online viewers, are going to be really interested in seeing what we find down there in that last 100 meters. All right, I feel like everybody's gotten a little bit warmed up, so I think it's time. It's maybe time for our question of the day, which
Yeah.
I gave science team a little bit of a head start on. So today's question, if you guys have been following the 12 to 4 watch, you know that I've been asking random oddball questions. Guy didn't know, but now that he's up here, he's a part of this, so.
He's looking confused.
That's my general look. Hey. Um, I'm not sure who wants to take it first back there, but our question is, and this is spawned off of a conversation that we had at breakfast today, is if you could name a town, what would you name your town?
That's a tough question.
Yeah.
Well, I've actually got my answer.
What? Really? All right, Guy, take it away.
Well, I grew up in a town called Hayward, and we used to always call it Wayward. So if I could name a town, I would call it Wayward.
Would you have signs in Wayward that just pointed in nonsensical directions as well?
Absolutely.
That is really good. Wow. I want to hear somebody top that. That is great. Thank you, Guy. And Guy didn't even know that that was coming. So maybe don't overthink it.
The name of my town is in theme with our snack of choice. I would have Chocolate Town.
Oh, Chocolate Town.
Chocolate Town.
Does that mean all the buildings in Chocolate Town would be made of chocolate? And the roads paved with chocolate?
Willy Wonka style.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was just thinking
There
that.
is a chocolate town. We have Hershey, Pennsylvania.
That's
is
right.
Chocolate Town, USA.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man. You know what? I remember at so I spent 12 years at the California Academy of Sciences, and they do a third Thursday or a Thursday night evening thing, and what they always used to bring out was a chocolate fountain with strawberries. So would Chocolate Town have a chocolate fountain with strawberries?
Yes, and you'd be allowed to bathe in it.
Oh, man. Jeez. Wow. I think I want to visit these first two towns, actually. They sound pretty great. Sage, what about you? Do you have a name for your town?
I'm going on the theme of not overthinking it. It's called Sage City.
Sage City. Ooh.
And it's all green.
It's all green. Well, is it all green or is it all teal?
Well, it's like sage.
It's like sage. Oh, interesting. Nice. I like it. Aaron, how about you?
My gosh, you gave me so much warning and I came up with nothing. Sorry, I got nothing. My brain's not working very well.
It's
I
okay.
also have come up with nothing.
Uh,
Any help, one of us?
Anybody have a backup name?
well, what about Jess? Jess is sitting there.
So I've been thinking about it as, if I already name a town, I probably wouldn't want a lot of people to live in the town, so I'd name it an unappealing name. So I'd probably say like Bogville or something like that. But it's actually a beautiful town on the water, but no one wants to go there because it's named Bogville.
Oh, but it's actually paradise.
But actually paradise, yeah, exactly.
That's very clever, actually.
Yeah.
Plague
Or like
California.
Waste Town or something like that. No one wants to go there.
Well, do you remember in, I think it was Mad Max Thunderdome, there was a place called Bartertown.
Oh no.
That's where actually, oh gosh, famous singer played this character. She was the head of Bartertown. If anybody, Tina Turner.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Jess, you kind of gave away your thing about your town, though.
I know.
Not everyone's going to visit your town.
I shouldn't have said that, should I?
Well,
For one day, I won't actually name a town.
well, actually, Jess, I don't think you don't probably have to worry too much. I'm just gonna double check, but last check, we had 127 viewers, so probably you only have to worry about everybody on board and those 127 viewers
That's true.
wanting to visit Bogville.
Bogville, yep.
I love it, Bogville. Oh, actually, we're up to 150.
Ooh, getting too
Welcome,
high.
everybody. Ashley, what about you? Oh,
I've also come up with nothing. That's a harder one.
that is a harder one. I'm sorry. Well, we'll come if you think of something. Any of you who passed this round, if you think of anything later in the dive, please feel free to share us the name of your town.
Atlantis.
Atlantis? Nice.
Oh.
Ooh. Are you gonna like? Is it gonna be hidden? Are we gonna have to search for it?
I mean, I'd like to find it.
Soon to be underwater due to sea level rise.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Atlantis better be on the coast.
Nav, what's roughly the distance from where we're going to land to the point 38?
Stand by. Let's zoom in on that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Before I zoom in, though, so this, I just give you guys a general feel for the area. If you haven't looked at it, this is a slope map, but that's kind of the overall canyon, right? The canyon proper. And then we're going to be creeping up along this wall. This is kind of a divot feature that leads up to the first part of the wall.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so the first point we're landing to is 1A.
Yep.
And then up to 38 is... Oh, let's change it to something reasonable. 700 meters.
Oh, okay.
So it's quite a long planned dive.
Yeah.
It's too long. We're never going to cover it. But if there's anything that you want to prioritize, just let us know.
Okay. Because the steeper slope looks like it's even farther past 38.
Yeah. Yeah, so we can zoom back out.
Okay.
So I don't know if these help at all.
Oh, I did like that when you had that up before.
This one was hard, though. It's hard to get a good feel. So the orange line is what is the active profile. That just was like the trend of the actual canyon floor. I just wanted to get a feel for that.
Mm-hmm.
But the dive itself is creeping along this face. The red slopes are 45, maxed out at 45, so 45 and greater. Greens are probably like 20 to 30. And that was that. That's just a slightly different color map if it helps.
Okay.
And what other treats do we have? That's just the profile. I had an overall. So that's just from the dive plan, right? So 1A. So yeah, I guess this would be more like the wall proper.
I understand. Okay.
And that's just that a wall on that kind of divotty feature when we land.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So Caitlin, you guys have dove in Bodega Canyon, but further to the east.
Correct.
In previous years.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. We did 3 dives in 2017 and obtained so much valuable information that now completing this deeper depth range will complete that picture for us of somewhat of a depth profile of species and habitats in the canyon.
Nice, exciting.
Sure.
What kind of depth zonation do you see in these canyons?
It's
Like
with the corals, it's. I have a paper about it,
Okay.
but I'm trying to think off the top of my head. There is a transition that I see of bamboo corals, those thinly branched bamboo corals that we had seen in Box Canyon. Those are
The
primarily
actual
found at the
snake?
deeper
Yeah,
depths.
Slow it down a bit.
Okay.
Why I tell you?
And then they,
Oh.
as it gets shallower, it changes from more Gorgonian type of corals.
Okay.
And bamboo corals can also be present, but there are some interesting patterns that are falling out with distinct depth preferences, and that's what this data will help us uncover more patterns. The black corals are primarily found at most depth ranges, so that's what we're keeping our eye out for, are black corals and then some other types of, we have a kind of collection wish list back here, so we will see.
Yeah.